All right, everyone, welcome to this weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast. This is for January 23rd to the 29th of 2017. I'm Athen, and this channel is about using the actual size and location of the constellations in the sky. This is known as Sidereal Astrology. If you are new to the channel, be sure to check out the link down below because the signs are different, which means your sign might be different, and you'll want to watch this for the right sign. All right, everyone, so let's go ahead and have a look here at the general energies first. We're going to look at the collective forecast for everybody. Then we're going to get into the individual signs after this. So after the collective segment, you can click the timestamp down next to your sign in the description, and that'll take you directly to your sign's segment of the video. I do want to say that it's very important sometimes to watch multiple videos. In other words, you can watch these videos for your ascendant sign. You can watch them for your sun sign and your moon sign. And when you're watching them for 2 out of the 3 or 3 out of the 3, you find it much more specific to you, right? Because these are very general. And just watching it for your sun sign, you're talking about everyone, like 1/12 of the entire world's population is experiencing something general in that sense. Have the same horoscope with the sun, or even if you're just watching it for the moon or whatever. So that's why watching, your ascendant and sun, or your ascendant and moon, or all 3 of those, makes it much more specific to you. Now, when you're watching them like that, though, I do want to say, your sun sign, you have to kind of watch them for that particular perspective, right? Because your sun sign, for example, is like your focus. It's where we're focused on things. So you have that perspective while watching it. Where are you focused for the week? That's your sun sign horoscope. Where's this outer energy? It's more of the external environment with the sun. But then when you combine that with the moon, which is more of the internal perspective, more about personal life, feelings, and this kind of spiritual, intuitive stuff in life, then you're getting an outer perspective and an inner perspective. And then, of course, your ascendant, which I do recommend. If you are going to watch just one, do watch your ascendant sign. I find that to be the most fundamental. That's essentially where life is taking you. You can think of it like the life path, or just the structures of your life and how things are unfolding generally. All right, so then when you combine them with all 3 of those, you're getting a very well-rounded picture. Now, you will need to know your time of birth to get the ascendant. So keep that in mind. But you can still use the calculator for your moon sign. Typically, unless you're born right in between a cusp, you will be able to find your moon sign based on your day of birth. If you do find your moon's in between 2 signs, you may want to watch both of those and see which one sounds more accurate. And then you can kind of maybe tell where your moon actually was. But yeah, so yeah, combining all 3 of those, you can check the calculator there for your moon and ascendant signs. All right, so let's look at this collectively first. Essentially, what we've got this week is a new beginning. We've got a new moon on Friday. It is a new beginning week. However, with the new moon being so late in the week, it is very much about the energies dying down this week as we approach Friday. Right, we're going to be in the balsamic phase, which is the ending of the last lunar cycle, the ending of the last month, basically. So what that essentially means is if you are feeling more guided to take some time out, maybe to meditate, maybe to get some R&R, whatever it is, yeah, listening to that, right? Because it's the time to do this. It's the time to recharge. It's also the time to create some space in our life. And usually when we are, resting or meditating or maybe reflecting on things and whatnot, it helps us gain a greater intuitive perspective on what's going on and really clear out a lot of the old feelings, a lot of the old perspectives and beliefs and thinking patterns and stuff from the previous cycle that essentially we don't want to take with us into the new cycle. So obviously there are some things we learned and some ideas and some emotions and things we've built over these past 30 days that, yes, we do want to bring into the new cycle. But there's also some things we're clearing. Right, some things we can let go of, not push away, but allow to let go, because everything in the universe, everything within us is constantly moving. So allowing things to move, being more awareness of what's moving within us, and what is wanting to leave, allowing that to happen through that conscious awareness. So creating space. It's very much like the winter time. The balsamic phase is like the winter of the month, you could say. And so as we rest, as we clear out that garden, so to speak, of the emotions, of the perspectives and all of this. We create space, and it's within that space that the new beginnings are starting to get planted. We'll probably feel that this weekend around Friday's new moon, but it does take time for these things. So I think next week is much more about cultivating those matters, moving them forward and whatnot. But do keep in mind, all the planets are direct. So generally, yes, there's a lot of forward moving energy. Mercury's coming out of his shadow here this weekend as well. So a lot of the things having to do with the routine or our perspective, having to feel like things have been needing to be reworked or reconsidered or rehashed, or things are maybe clunky still with all the day-to-day stuff. That's the shift also over the weekend as well. So yes, a lot of forward-moving energy, but being receptive, I think, is key, allowing the energies to die down as we approach Friday. All right, so that's the whole lunar cycle there. And in terms of the aspects, we do have 4 aspects, all staggered, which is nice, suggesting that things are kind of happening in steps throughout the week. Things kick off on Monday with Mercury sextiling up to Neptune. So with this one, we could be feeling perhaps a bit imaginative, right? You got Mercury, the planet of our mind, of our perspective, even our routine, an easy aspect of the planet that is about imagination, intuition, wanting to go with the flow, accepting things, being receptive. Right? So very good for a dreamy, like not really dreamy, but there's just a more easygoing energy. We're more willing to let go. We're more willing to surrender, live in the present moment. Could even be really good for intuitive insight. You know, a lot of us might have some ideas that, you know, come from our intuition, that guidance. And we do have a lot of Pisces energy right now. In fact, Venus is going to shift into Pisces Tuesday and Wednesday, right at the beginning of the week, to join up with Mars there, okay, and Chiron. So we are going into, you know, this ocean area of life about, yes, we may not know exactly where things are going, right? We're having to be very receptive or more internal and more intuitive, but things are moving forward. And it's about finding the current. It's like being dropped in the middle of the ocean, not knowing where the land is. And so you can just swim in a random direction and exert all your energy, or you can float, you know, you can let go. You can kind of just feel the current, and then maybe use the current to then put the energy towards that direction, because then you're going where you were already going to go, but faster, right? Where life was already going to take you, but then, yeah, you link it up with your intention, with your desires, with your needs. And that's been really Mars. But with Venus coming in here, Venus is actually exalted in Pisces. She likes to be here. So it's much more enjoyable. I think we could enjoy perhaps a bit of the receptive energy of life, creative energy, dreamy kind of thing. And, you know, Venus has very much to do with our values and relationships. So we could be very unconditional in our relationships. Again, very accepting in our relationships and all of this. Also makes it great for enjoying creative arts, music, painting, anything that really gets into that imagination. So yeah, this first half, there's definitely this imaginative energy, especially with Mercury sextiling Neptune. And intuitive and listening to that. Great for spiritual activities. Great for enjoying a bit of that receptive energy, meditation, or, you know, whatever it is that helps you connect to that now moment. All right. So with the Venus is going to go over Chiron. In fact, as you can see here, for those of you who do recall last week's aspects, this looks very much like last week in the sense that it was Mars that went over Chiron Tuesday, Wednesday, and then squared up to Saturn this second half of the week. So Venus is doing exactly what Saturn did last week. All right. Now, it won't be the same, obviously, and it's going to be involving different areas for you, which you'll notice in the specific signs portion of this. But it's these same sort of things are happening in a sense that with Venus, when it comes to our values and relationships, particularly, and the things we enjoy connecting to in life, there is a healing taking place. All right. There is these wounds that might come up this week about can we enjoy our values, or maybe it's about relationships, or maybe it's about simply, yeah, can we let go and detach in Pisces? And the answer is, of course, yes, but there might be some wounds coming up about this. And know that they're very subjective, they're internal, they're not a reflection of your external environment. In other words, you know, we are capable of letting go and connecting to our relationships and values in this unconditional way, but there might be some wounds about it. Okay, so as we do that healing, which really is about becoming more aware of our psychology, our emotions, our past patterns, and our wounds, and accepting them, You know, that's really the key. If you look at any type of healing practices like psychology and stuff, you know, we have to be aware of, and we have to accept the fact that we feel wounded or doubtful or whatever it is first before we can actually work on the energy within ourselves. And really just from the act of accepting, a tremendous healing takes place. So again, it's involving Venusian things. It's involving anything or anyone we connect to or generally connect to. Okay, but I think as a result of this, going into the rest of the week, there is a refreshing energy, as always is the case with Chiron. It does take time. This is starting a new yearly cycle, in fact, of healing, again, particularly with those Venusian areas. But yeah, after this, probably feeling quite rejuvenated, quite refreshed, all right, as a result of this, particularly when we are willing to go deep and accept. Now, the square up to Saturn. So this is more challenging with Venus, as you can imagine. Venus wants to just simply enjoy things now, connect to things, have a simple life, right? Enjoy those things that we enjoy. Saturn, on the other hand, in a square at least, is the side of ourselves that says, but hold on a second. Hold on a second. These, you know, there's bigger things at work here. Sometimes there's long-term enjoyments, and they do take time. Right. And so if we do get on the side of Saturn, which I think is excellent this week because the new moon is going to be at the same time as this square, and it is in Capricorn. All right. And Saturn rules Capricorn. And there's no major aspects with this new moon too, which suggests it's really going to pull on the Capricorn side of it. It's really going to pull on the Saturn side of it because he's the dispositor of that, in this case, Capricorn. So it's very Venusian in this. So let me just say this, getting on the right side of Saturn, I think is really key with this for a few reasons. One is that we're going to probably identify more with Venus. We're going to identify more with wanting to enjoy things and connect and just have that more sensual life because she's the closer planet to the sun. But yeah, getting on the side of Saturn in a sense of, I think the more willing we are to be patient, the more willing we are to be responsible, to see the big picture with these values or with relationships, or do the responsible thing with our values or the responsible thing with our relationships, then we're really getting on the right side of it. For the reason of the square, and then also for the reason of the fact that this whole new moon's in Capricorn, which is about developing these qualities at this time. Collectively, on Friday, you know, we're all going through this new shift in perspective about the importance of responsibility, about the importance of patience, of seeing the big picture, of discipline, so we can build things, so things can be real and foundational and structured and not just, you know, whimsical or whatever. Or rather, we can take these values and build them into something long-lasting. Right? Whatever it might be for you personally. Again, we'll get into the specifics for your signs to see which houses this is associated for you. But collectively for all of us, yes, there's this new chapter about taking the long road, the patient road, the right road, the responsible road when it comes to the things we value in life and the people we value in life as well. Okay? I do want to mention also that this is all in regards to a conjunction. This is in regards to a new beginning that took place back in late October. All right, so roughly about 3 months ago, we had that conjunction with Venus and Saturn. And so if you can think back to your personal life since late October, did you start something new with your values? Did you start something new with relationships? Maybe with finances, maybe with investments or anything else you value and enjoy in life? And if so, this is the week to be patient with it and challenge yourself with it in a sense of taking a step back, perhaps. Sometimes in life, we do have to take a step back. Sometimes we have to integrate, right? Or maybe challenge ourselves to take some actions that might be uncomfortable, but we know would facilitate those new beginnings from these past few months. All right. So we'll look at this more specifically for your sign, but this is collectively what's going on here with this. And again, with Venus and Pisces, receptivity really is the key here. The more willing we are to float, to listen, to find that current of life. All right, and then, yeah, that new moon on Friday. So going into the weekend, it's still a great time to see what these new beginnings are. We're going to notice some new things are coming into the picture, new perspectives, whatever it is, and being adaptive to them over the weekend, being flexible because things are they're modifying, they're changing during the new moon, and not all of it's up to our own intentions. Life is taking us into a new direction, so it's about listening to that. But definitely by next week, yes, all these new insights, all these new things changing in our life, then it becomes clear, and then we start to take more action towards all that. All right, so yeah, the new moon on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Mercury comes out of his shadow, so you know, he's out. He's not retrograde anymore, but when he was in his shadow these past, I mean, the whole process has been over a month with his retrograde and everything. So if you've been feeling like there's been more of having to rework on things, or maybe the routine has been more about clunky, or just things aren't really moving forward, or things are still up in the air about ideas and the routine and stuff like that, that all starts to shift going into next week. And we'll probably feel that over the weekend. So now with Mercury out of his shadow, all the planets direct, you know, even though it's a subtle time with the new moon, yes, it's great to be implementing. It's great to be moving things forward, just being flexible and adaptive in terms of what new insight and what these new beginnings are all about. Okay, especially when it comes to the routine and all of this. You know, probably notice there's more flow, less clunkiness, because there's not having to be as much reconsideration. All right, so Mercury coming out of his shadow, then he conjoins up to Pluto on Sunday. So starting off, going into next week, there is this new shift of perspective. And that's essentially what Mercury and Pluto is all about. You know, again, Mercury is the practical mind. Pluto is about the transformation and diving deep. So our minds can be quite deep this week, and it can make it really good for psychology and research and all this stuff. But more fundamentally, it's starting a new beginning about stripping away the thought patterns that are no longer serving us, the perspectives that are no longer serving us in Sagittarius. You know, this is all Mercury in Sagittarius has been helping us open our minds to possibilities, to potentials, and to see the big picture. And so now there's a transformation of this. And it's a transformation on a personal level, which is our thinking patterns, getting rid of, just allowing to let go of any thinking patterns that are just no longer serving us, but shifting a perspective, right? Seeing things in a new light. Could even be new insights with this. And from the new moon, and it's coinciding with this, you know, from these new beginnings, maybe utilizing a bit of this deep mind of learning more about ourselves on a deeper level, or research perhaps, or something like that, or communicating things deeply and meaningfully, and just seeing beyond the veil of matters. And that seeing beyond the veil of matters can really facilitate this whole new shift going into next week. All right, so yeah, that's the week in a nutshell. The way I would sum this up generally for this collective reading is that, yes, this is a week of new beginnings, but it's going to be more so going into the weekend and next week. It's really a week of things dying down, being receptive, listening, being flexible, still cultivating whatever it is that you feel like cultivating, because all the planets are direct. It's great for that, just, yeah, being receptive to it, maybe getting a bit of that R&R meditative approach. Again, all this Pisces energy is about getting things done in a way that is exerting the least amount of energy, especially with Mars in Pisces. And with Venus, maybe bringing in a bit of this more accepting nature into our relationships, into our values, into the things we enjoy in life. And there is a healing taking place with all this, with Venus going over Chiron, doing the healing Tuesday, Wednesday, doing that acceptance can be very refreshing, very rejuvenating. And then remembering too, with the new moon in Capricorn, Venus squares Saturn the second half of the week, particularly Thursday through Friday. Taking a step back, maybe seeing the big picture, understanding that collectively we are establishing and building this new yearly energy about patience, about responsibility, and all this more mature, grounded stuff, about building the foundations in life in terms of what really matters. So it's not about, not cultivating our values, even though it may feel a bit limiting or restricted in terms of them in the short term with this. It's about getting to the side of Saturn and saying there's a much bigger picture here. This was in regards to whatever started to cultivate since late October with our values and relationships. And now challenging ourselves to take the slow, steady, grounded, and responsible approach to that. Okay. And then the week ends with more of those new insights coming in with the new moon, but also a shift of perspective. and belief systems, and stripping away all of the unhealthy perspectives that are no longer serving us. All right, so that's the collective reading. Let's go ahead and get into the individual signs. You can click the timestamp down below for whichever sign you want to start with. Aries, all right, let's have a look at the most important things going on for you this week. So first of all, your ruler Mars, right? He's still in your 12th house in Pisces, just like he was last week. So yes, it is a receptive time for you. A good time to maybe get some R&R, meditation, all that same stuff I'm talking about in the general. But with your ruler specifically in the 12th, it is more so about finding that, yes, you know, there's this dissolving taking place with, you know, your desires and your needs and your wants and all of this. And it's about really channeling that into finding out more about yourself spiritually. Or another way of looking at it is really connecting to yourself spiritually, where you can have this greater awareness about what you truly desire. You might say on a spiritual level, you might say on a psychological level as you dive deep right now, which is very good to be doing this. Right? Whether it's through meditation or prayer or counseling or psychology, whatever this, you know, whatever helps you connect to your soul. And as you connect to your soul, you're going to be learning more about your soul, your deeper self, whatever you want to call it. The 12th house isn't really it either. It's really no thing, and it's no ego. It's no identification with anything. It's really about finding the peace within, the beingness within, but it's connecting to that beingness. And as you do that, you know, stripping away all of the fears, all of the layers, all these things that might be preventing you from having more peace in your life, more tranquility, more acceptance, and again, connecting to that beingness. So whatever helps you with this, meditation, again, psychology, whatever it is can really help establish this connection. That's essentially what is going on right now, and essentially it's the time of finding true happiness, which really is about spiritual liberation, spiritual peace, spiritual acceptance, connecting to that beingness. Now, Venus coming into here does suggest that there is a shift probably Tuesday and Wednesday, having more to do with this more receptive energy coming through probably your relationships and your values. She rules your 2nd and your 7th. So on the relationship level, I think you're enjoying this, or can enjoy perhaps a bit more easygoingness, a bit more receptivity in your relationships, unconditionality, you know, unconditional acceptance, compassion, understanding, all of this. You know, Venus likes to be in the 12th house, and she's exalted in Pisces. So whereas last week was just your ruler here, Venus coming in here will probably lighten things up, or at least help you see the value of all this, the value of all this spiritual, or, you know, behind the scenes stuff, or the enjoyment of working behind the scenes, or getting rest and enjoying that, or whatever it is, or just bringing in more acceptance in your everyday sphere and your routine and stuff, right? And so that's helping you connect to your relationships. It's also helping you connect to your values, right? To cultivate the things you value on a deeper level of, again, you know, enjoying things in a way that helps you relax and find that peace. But at the same time too, you know, there is the side to it that there is uncertainty about all this. There might be, all right? Especially if the mind tries to figure it out. It's uncertain about the whole relationships, or the whole values, the investments, finances, or whatever, you know. But it's facilitating a time of you finding peace. You know, the relationships are facilitating this, and the values are facilitating this. And that's really what the whole purpose of this really is to find the peace, to find the true happiness. It's the last house of the astrological chart, of coming full circle back to our beingness. So anyways, very good there when having that perspective. And again, Venus can help you connect to all this. Now, there is some healing taking place, likely Tuesday and Wednesday, maybe about relationships, maybe about those values. And so the more accepting you are there, you're going to find that facilitates it. In fact, once you get into about Wednesday, Thursday, you're probably going to feel quite refreshed and rejuvenated about your relationships and your values. Okay. Now, on the same token, Venus squaring up to Saturn, yes, there is some clash here with those matters, or can be, not always. Depends on, how you approach this. But if you're willing to be patient, if you're willing to see the big picture with these things, then you're on that Saturn side, and that's going to help you establish these things that essentially started back in late October. So like I was saying in the general, back in late October, for you, yes, there was certainly a new beginning on some level having to do with your perspective on relationships, and again, this is all relationships. Maybe a new perspective about your values or finances or investments. Maybe about what those things truly matter to you, what they truly mean to you. This was a conjunction in your 8th house, and this is where Saturn's been transiting, really helping you establish and build things in your life that matter to you, that matter most to you. And so seeing that whatever you set out to from late October with this, it's the challenging time where you want to challenge yourself to be either patient or committed, or maybe take some action that's long-term action, patient action, to facilitate those new beginnings. Or maybe it's commitment for some of you, things like this. But with Saturn, yes, it's all about doing the responsible thing. All right, so with that perspective, it can be very constructive. I think you are building, you are establishing relationships, your values, the spiritual aspect of yourself, these deeper connections. And that can be very constructive. Now, the new moon, on a different note, it's happening in a different area. Everything we've talked about has been more watery, 8th house, 12th house, more spiritual and all this. But you do have a new beginning with your career and your productive life. And this is already where you've been focused. You've had your sun here. It's been a great place for you to put your conscious attention. But going into next week, you'll probably find some new things shaping up here. And if you do have some new insights around Friday about these productive things, whether it's career or your legacy or whatever it is that you do productively or future-oriented, there's a new beginning, right? And so feeling that, seeing what comes your way this weekend, especially with Mercury coming out of his shadow Saturday through Sunday, maybe things having to do with the routine, maybe with your communication, all that starting to flow a bit, and some new insights. Mercury's going to go over Pluto, and this is insights about your life path direction, your 9th house, maybe about seeing the bigger picture, opening your mind to possibilities and potentials, stripping away all of the limiting belief systems and all of that to then help you see and help you have a greater sense of purpose and direction, which is, I think you've already gained a lot of that over the past month plus. But now with this last aspect taking place in the 9th house, especially one like this, can really transform the way you view things. And that's going to be Sunday in particular going into next week. So I think it is associated with the life path, but it's also associated with these new beginnings about your productive life, your career, your work, maybe communication, things like that. All right. So great to listen this weekend. Great to see where things are shifting. And then next week, once, we start to get into the later phases of the new moon, and all the planets being direct and all this, there is more forward moving energy there. So, but again, Mars, your ruler in the 12th house, it is supposed to be a receptive time for you, maybe working behind the scenes or getting that R&R, whatever it is, but you can be enjoying that this week with Venus. There's some healing taking place with all of that, which is great. On another level or on the same level, might have to do with relationships, might have to do with your values, and that can be rejuvenating. Now let's go up to Saturn. It's the bigger picture, especially with the new moon in Capricorn. This is all about the future, right? Even the 10th house is about future things. And so there's a new chapter. It's the early phases of it. This is a yearly cycle. And so taking it nice and slow, but still seeing what new insights come this weekend, especially with Mercury over Pluto. Your whole perspective on things is changing. All right, so Aries, have a fantastic week. Thank you again for all of your likes, comments, and shares of this weekly video. I do want to mention that this is the last week for the 20% New Year's discount that I am offering for readings. So if you would like a personal reading, be sure to click the link down in the description or in the comment section for that New Year's special. All right, so Aries, have a fantastic week. Thank you again, and I'll see you all next week. Taurus, let's go ahead and have a look here at the most important events you've got for your segment of this weekly. So let's first look at Venus, your ruler of course, forming a lot of aspects this week, a lot of important things taking place. First things first is that she is shifting into your 11th house, Tuesday and Wednesday. And so this is the house of your aspirations. All right, so I think there's a lot of positive energy going into your aspirations now for the next month. Plus, you've already had Mars here, so you may have been noticing since last week, maybe a bit more motivated or driven to cultivate your future things. Your personal aspirations is usually the most fundamental, but for some of you, it might be getting involved with something larger than yourself, maybe community, maybe connecting more with your friends, things like this, maybe online social media stuff. But again, it's about the future most fundamentally, and I think it's about your personal future. And so now with your ruler here, it's really going to emphasize that this week. So feel that, you know, if you are feeling that pull there towards those ideals and future things, yeah, it's a great time for that. And I think you'll be learning a lot about it. I think you'll be finding some new values about it, and you can certainly cultivate it. Now, in terms of Venus, though, you know, Venus is going to be going over Chiron Tuesday and Wednesday. So you're going through some, you could say transformation, but you're going through this healing transformation this week, Tuesday, Wednesday in particular. And what you'll likely find is that there are some wounds that come up this week. And this is very natural, very normal. Maybe it's wounds about your, your independence, you feeling like, yes, you can cultivate the things that are important to you in life. That's the stuff that comes up, but it might feel like you can't, or maybe it might feel like you don't have confidence, or you don't have that wherewithal, that ability to cultivate these things. So if you do, whatever those wounds are about yourself or your self-image, whatever it might be, but with the ruler, it is associated with you. Accepting these wounds, right? Understanding that this is part of an internal wound. It doesn't represent your actual external environment. You know, whatever it is you feel wounded about, and it might be about those aspirations, but it doesn't mean that you're not capable or not able to cultivate those aspirations. You very much are, in fact, wherever Chiron is. It's just you're having to deal with and work with these wounds that come up as a result. So as you do the inner acceptance, all right, and inner awareness, and learn more about yourself in this deeper way, you're going to find that you feel refreshed, you feel rejuvenated. And that's essentially what's taking place. So once you get into Thursday, maybe even Wednesday, Thursday time, you're going to feel that shift of feeling healed, feeling rejuvenated, that yes, you can cultivate these things that are important to you, these aspirations, or you can get involved with these community things or whatever it is. So very nice there, very transformational. Now in terms of Venus, Venus is going to be squaring up to Saturn. So I highly recommend with the ruler squaring Saturn is to get on the side of Saturn here and understand that there's a much bigger picture, because you might be feeling a bit restricted, a bit blocked Thursday and Friday for whatever reason. It might be on a more personal level, might be on a day-to-day level, it might have to do with your routine. In fact, Venus does rule your 6th house. But whatever it is, seeing that there's a big picture. And a lot of it too is whatever you set out to do since late October, 3 months ago. At that time, that's when you started a new beginning with you about seeing at that time, you probably saw that, yes, you were willing to do things in a longer term perspective. Yeah, at that time, you were willing to be patient and responsible and take on this new direction with all of that. And a lot of it may have had to do with relationships, in fact, because it was in your 7th house on some level, or business or something like that. But whatever it was, and generally it just has to do with you, again, your ruler since late October. It's now you're at a challenge week where you want to challenge yourself to take the slow road, take the patient road, maybe take a step back this week. Sometimes we got to do that along the life journey, right? And but you may feel restricted with the immediate gratification of things, but that's okay, because sometimes we have to put off the immediate gratification of things to do things responsibly, to do things the right way, and to cultivate those values and those things that are important to us in the long term. So it's that kind of week. And challenge yourself too if there's anything you feel that is uncomfortable with those aspirations or with relationships or just generally with you. Approaching it with a willingness to challenge yourself, whatever that might be, right? Sometimes it's an uncomfortable thing with the square, but the uncomfortable thing is the thing we know we need to do for our health, our balance, and just for our future, whatever it is. It's just the responsible thing. So doing that, it's building it. Squares are all about constructively implementing, those matters. All right, so that's the Venus square. All right, so that's, up and through Friday. There's a lot of aspects, a lot of shifting taking place. You're shifting into this new perspective about aspirations. You're doing this healing, which is, yes, very rejuvenating, and then having to integrate, this time period of seeing the big picture and taking things responsibly. All right, then on Friday, right around that same time, just after this, but around the same time, we do have the new moon. Okay, and that's going to be in that 9th house of yours. So there's certainly a new beginning about accessing a bit of that open mind of yours, and maybe even your adventurous spirit, maybe starting some new things about philosophy, spirituality, or adventure, or whatever it is. And so you're going to notice this more so next week, but you've already been focused here. Your sun's been in the 9th house. So there's already been this focus on your belief systems and possibilities. All right, so now there's some new seeds being planted this weekend. Maybe some new perspectives, maybe quite literally some new things shaping into your life to facilitate this. And over the weekend, Mercury goes over Pluto, suggesting that although things are still quite deep, your mind's still on deeper things. And that can be great because you're learning more about what matters most to you in life. You're learning more about what's important to you on that deeper level, more about yourself psychologically, and all of this too. So there's a transformation taking place now with Mercury coming out of his shadow. Probably things will make a bit more sense about all this, or it's just starting to flow a bit more. That you are implementing now a lot of this openness and vulnerability with life, maybe even with relationships. But there's a transformation. Mercury goes over Pluto on Sunday. Your whole perspective about what matters most, and maybe relying on others, and learning more about the importance of the freedom that comes from when we're no longer afraid of facing our fears and accepting our fears. This is the transformation that's happening with your perspective. A lot of it's going to be transforming your self-expression. In fact, there might be some of those fears and abilities and things coming up to the forefront about your self-expression, the things you enjoy and things you're passionate about this weekend. Or maybe it's about your values or finances or investments. But it's all very positive, because what's happening is all those fears, all those layers are being stripped away. And then there's only the core that's left. And it's the core that's more in alignment with you. And then you're feeling, likely going into next week, you'll probably notice it more so, freer with your self-expression, freer with, yes, you can cultivate and enjoy your values and your finances and your resources in life. Be grateful for what you have in life and all of this. So definitely metamorphosis, and all those insights are going to facilitate these new beginnings about seeing the big picture. A lot of you going into next week are going to feel much more purposeful, much more attuned to your life path direction, and again, more adventurous perhaps, or open-minded with that new moon. All right, so Taurus, that is this week in a nutshell. Definitely some different areas here. There's definitely a shift towards those aspirations, which again is helping you heal, and it's healing your perspective of aspirations and things larger than yourself. There's some challenge here with the square up to Saturn. So yes, taking things nice and slow, particularly Thursday through Friday. and new beginnings shaping up about your perspective, about what's possible in life, and also too about really getting to the core of yourself and of life and really connecting on that deeper level. All right, Taurus, so have a fantastic week. Thank you again for all of your likes, comments, and shares of this video. I do want to mention that this is the last week that I am running the 20% off New Year special. So if you would like a 20% discount on a personal reading, looking at where these transits, but really the transits for the entire year, are taking place for you personally, do check that out. Yeah, have a great week, Taurus, and I'll see you all next week. Take care. Geminis, welcome to your segment of the weekly forecast. So let's go and take a look at the most important things you've got this week. We've got Mercury sextiling Neptune right at the beginning of the week on Monday. So yeah, maybe you are feeling a bit imaginative, maybe quite creative this first half of the week, maybe intuitive, maybe some new insights are taking place. A lot of this has been in regards to relationships generally over the past month plus. Not the imaginative side, but just in terms of where you're thinking and your perspective on things and what you're learning at the moment. So a lot of it's about relationships, and there's definitely a shift here. You know, Mercury's going to come out of his shadow Saturday and Sunday and go over Pluto there, which I'll talk more about. But the point here is that it's still great to be cultivating relationships, learning more about them, trying new things with them. This is all relationships, romantic, business, family relationships, contracts, all kinds of stuff. But it's a great area to cultivate. And it's with Pluto, it's been helping you strip away a lot of the old patterns, a lot of the fears, a lot of the deep things that have been preventing you from connecting to relationships on a deeper level. Because just we always have more to do in terms of stripping away the fears and the inhibitions and the walls and the things that help us, the things that prevent us from getting vulnerable with relationships and really connect to them on a deeper level. So anyways, as Mercury approaches Pluto, it's going to be playing more of a role with that as the week unfolds. But generally, yes, connecting with others and learning about that is an excellent way of working with this week. So I also want to say too, Mercury rules your fourth. So a lot of it could be about establishing relationships with home and family, with your family members, or maybe learning more about your past and things like that. That's certainly continuing to move forward also. All right, Tuesday and Wednesday, Venus does go into your 10th house of career. So this is placing more emphasis here, actually. Last week you had Mars go into the 10th. So it's been a great time for you to put some motivation and drive into your career, your productive life. You got Venus here now this week and onward, helping you maybe establish some relationships there in the career front. Maybe some of you are expressing yourself more through your career or enjoying it a bit more. It's definitely quite possible shifting this week, and maybe feeling a bit more easygoing, a bit more tranquil there with all that productive stuff. Now, there is some healing taking place with all this, as there was last week. But here with Venus going over Chiron, if you are feeling any wounds around your self-expression, maybe about the career, do be aware of that. Do that acceptance, and that's going to help you transform and rejuvenate and refresh that energy as you go into the coming months, really the coming year with this new cycle here. And then Venus squaring up to Saturn does suggest that, yes, it's been a great time for you to take seriously all of the routine and the work and the productive energy on that level, day-to-day stuff, personal growth. But yeah, squaring up to Venus here does suggest that maybe you are feeling a bit blocked here with the career. Maybe it was with the self-expression. Maybe it's with fun and enjoyment and, you know, enjoying that playful side to life. Maybe there's some challenge there. So whatever it is, it's about seeing the big picture, as I was saying in the general, and maybe thinking back to this time period back in late October. Because around that time, you had a new beginning about your routine, about your work, and about your self-expression, about having fun, enjoying yourself and all this. So even though you may feel restricted, a lot of what's being felt as restricted is more of the immediate short-term enjoyments. All right, so it's about seeing the big picture there. Maybe seeing, because back in late October, you were willing to go, you know, to take it slow and see that things do take time. So now it's a challenge with that. It's like the reality of it that, yes, it's in the middle part of this cycle, because in 3 months from now, you are going to be at the high point, which will be what's facilitated for you regarding the self-expression and the routine. But right now, yes, it's taking it nice and slow, one step at a time. So the more willing you are to do that with Saturn, I think you're going to find this very constructive. Now, the Friday new moon is in that 8th house of yours, so things have been shifting into a deeper level for you. Last week, you probably noticed the sun going into your 8th, about now being more aware of, you know, what matters most, essentially. But sometimes it does require to go deep, to accept some wounds, to accept some fears, and just to learn more about where we can free ourselves, where we can face some fears and as a result free ourselves. But we have to learn more about ourselves, right? So this new moon, Friday onward, is going to be helping facilitate this greater understanding about, you know, these things that essentially you've brushed under the rug, as we all have. You know, the things we've brushed under the rug in the past. And now the rug is being lifted, and you can now do the accepting work, the healing work, the transformational work, you know, through that acceptance. And that's going to refresh and rejuvenate you through this lunar cycle. Okay. And then that's going to help you, you know, see what matters most. So listening to this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, there's some new seeds being planted with all of this, connecting to even the deeper side of relationships. Again, the 8th house is very much a relationship house, just like with Mercury in your 7th, very much about openness and vulnerability there. But it all starts with self, right? It all starts with doing that acceptance within, transformation within, and then as a result, more openness and vulnerability with life, with relationships, etc. All right, then Saturday and Sunday, yeah, your ruler comes out of his shadow. So there are things definitely moving forward, a lot of insights that you've learned about relationships and all this stuff moving forward. And then with Mercury over Pluto on Sunday, the stripping away of all the past patterns, all of the, you know, fears and inhibitions and even attachments and yearnings there regarding relationships are being stripped away, and it's going to free you up going into next week, help you cultivate again with this new moon, more of the deeper side of things, of openness, vulnerability, all of that going forward. All right, so that's the week in a nutshell. The way I would sum this up, though, is the first half, definitely this healing, might have to do with the career, might have to do with the self-expression, but it's rejuvenating. The more patient you are with all of that, taking things nice and slow, you're going to find it facilitates this whole process, this whole yearly thing you started in late October regarding, you know, these structures in your life for your self-expression and fun and your work and all of that. All right, so taking that slow. And then this weekend, though, with this new moon, there's new things being planted about your perspective on what matters in life, about relationships, and this whole metamorphosis with your ruler going over Pluto, stripping away all of the layers of self. And if it's not just relationships, it's really just with you, of all of the ideas of who we are, what we want, really releasing attachment, just being, right? once we've stripped away all the fears, then what's left is the core of who we are. And that's very powerful, very transformative. So you're transforming, your relationships are transforming, or your perspective of your relationships are transforming. And even too, your emotions also. Mercury rules that fourth. And you're learning a lot about this with Jupiter there. So your whole inner state is transforming also. All right, and that's very freeing, very liberating. All right, Gemini, so have a fantastic week. Thank you again for all of your likes, comments, and shares. I do want to mention that this is the last week that I am running the 20% New Year special. So if you haven't yet gotten a reading for the new year, that special is still going on this week. All right, I'll put a link for that down in the comment section. But again, thank you, Geminis. Have a fantastic week, and I'll see you all next week. Take care. All right, Cancer, let's go ahead and have a look here at what's going on for you this week. So yeah, your ruler, the moon, is in the balsamic phase, starting things off as we approach Friday. So it is good to, as I was saying in the general, allow the energies to die down. Your ruler coming up to an ending phase. It's very much about being receptive, maybe meditating, just getting some time out, rest, all this stuff, and creating the space for what is a new beginning. And the new moon will be on Friday in your 7th house of relationships. So there are some new things shaping up here about relationships for you. It might be your perspective, might be quite literally some new things, new relationships, but also a new take on your existing relationships, right? Fresh new beginning there as well. So you'll likely notice a lot of this next week once the new moon gains that momentum. But listening this weekend, what comes your way about some new insights about all that can really facilitate those new beginnings. Now, early in the week, this week, Mercury sextiling Neptune does suggest that, yes, there might be a bit of this imaginative energy. Mercury does rule your 3rd house, so yeah, you could be feeling quite imaginative, or there's some intuitive insight. A lot of it is about what you've been thinking about with your routine and your work, which has been such a great area for you to put your mind into and really learn more about. In fact, I think you already have learned a lot about your routine and work over the past month plus with Mercury retrograde here. But yeah, a bit of flow, a bit of openness there, maybe with the mind, creative energy, maybe feeling easygoing around Monday. Now, Tuesday through Wednesday, Venus does shift into your 9th house. So there is this shift going into more of the open-mindedness. You know, you've had Mars in your 9th, so it's been a really good time to maybe take some actions towards cultivating that adventurous side of yourself, or maybe your life path direction. You know, that can be great. So whatever it is that's been motivating you there with the bigger picture stuff, or the belief system, some of you it's spirituality and philosophy, Venus comes in here. So you can really enjoy these things. And it's really putting this whole greater perspective too about possibilities with your aspirations, maybe possibilities with your home, family, and health, in fact, since Venus rules those areas. But whatever it is, starting to enjoy and connect to this bigger perspective, this more adventurous perspective of life is a great way of working with Venus and the 9th. But Venus is going to go over Chiron. So there is some healing taking place with this, maybe about those aspirations, maybe about community things or friends, maybe about your home and family, or your past, or your emotions, or whatever it is. So whatever wounds come up here around Tuesday and Wednesday, the more you learn more about yourself there, or just accept these wounds, you're going to find that it's refreshing you, it's rejuvenating you. And you'll likely find that rejuvenation going into Thursday. And then Thursday and Friday, that Venus does square up to Saturn, so you might feel a bit blocked with those key areas. All right, the home, family, health, maybe too. Maybe with the community or aspirations. So it's about, like I was saying in the general, the long-term perspective here with Saturn, the big picture. All right, taking the slow and steady steps. And this has been where you may have been feeling this past couple of years more restricted with your self-expression. Things just, you know, having to do with fun and playfulness just takes on a more serious connotation. So you can really be building these things for the long term. And that's how you want to work with it, right? Because back in late October, there was a new beginning here. Had to do with the self-expression, had to do with maybe being willing to take the slow and steady approach there. Maybe having to do with the new beginning regarding the responsible approach with your home, family, and health in late October. Maybe about your aspirations. So whatever that was, it's the first challenge with that this week. And taking it slow, right? Seeing the big picture. Responsibility is the name of the game with that. And as a result, you can certainly be building these things in your life, right? Now, as we get into the weekend after that new moon, again, this new shift of a perspective on the whole relationship sphere of life for you, cooperation, harmony, give and take. Mercury coming out of his shadow is going to go over Pluto in your 6th. So with all that stuff I was saying, you've been thinking about with your routine or your health or your diet, your regimens, your work, there's a transformation taking place. And this is Mercury going over Pluto. Your whole mind's changing about these things. Maybe you're understanding that there's some fears about the work or fears about the routine or something like that that are being stripped away. And that's what will happen with the conjunction. It happens very naturally. You're willing to strip them away, but they're falling away. And so you're going to notice going into next week with this new perspective on relationships and all this, there's also a new perspective of, you know, your routine or your work and your health. And that can be very rejuvenating, very refreshing. And a lot of it's, again, what you've learned these past month plus about that. All right, Cancer. So this week, the way I would sum this up is your ruler in the balsamic phase, certainly a lowering of energy time. But once you approach Friday, you'll probably find some insight, some energy that starts the new moon, new cycle, and you'll feel more of that going into next week. But a lot of it, yes, it's about relationships, your perspective there, cooperation, etc. Venus going into your 9th house does suggest that you can certainly be enjoying a more open-minded or adventurous perspective of life, maybe in regards to your home, family, and health, and maybe also in regards to your aspirations, right? Seeing the big picture with those key areas. That can be very healing there as you do that acceptance and patience with the Venus square Saturn. With the things we enjoy in life, they take time, and they take responsibility and all that. And again, that's involving home, family, health, or those aspirations. Then the new moon's on Friday, the new beginning with those relationships, followed by a shift of perspective about the importance of personal growth, personal development, new things being stripped away about the career also. And what's being left behind is a more accepting, more willing to detach and enjoy things in the present moment, having to do with that routine and everyday stuff. All right, Cancer, so have a fantastic week. Thank you again for all of your likes, comments, and shares. I do want to mention that this is the last week that I am offering the 20% off New Year special for readings. So if you would like a personal reading for the new year, do check the link down in the comment section or in the description. And yeah, and you can find all the details for that. All right, Cancer, so have a great one. Thank you again, and I'll see you all next week. All right, Leo, let's go and have a look at the most important things we've got for you this week. So your ruler, the sun, has been in your 6th house. It's been a really good time to be focused on your routine or your work, whatever it is you do on a daily level. That's a source of energy and prana for you at the moment. Now, there's going to be a new moon on Friday involving these things. So as you approach Friday, maybe reflecting on where you want to start to set some new intentions with your work, with your routine. But a lot of it's not going to really become clear until probably this weekend or maybe even next week once that new moon starts. So really just being receptive to those things this first half, you can say. And then around Friday, probably some new insights, new things shaping up here. Maybe it's about where you can develop personally. Maybe it's about the importance of your routine, or the importance of time management, energy management, helping others improve, developing any crafts that you have, any skills that you have is a great way of working with this new cycle that's shaping up for the next month here. All right, so approaching that, Mercury is going to be sextiling Neptune on Monday, so there might be a bit of easiness to express yourself, maybe a bit of flow with the values, the finances on Monday, or an opening or opportunity there is possible. And it's just minor though. And then also too, maybe with your aspirations, maybe feeling quite aspired Monday, and a willingness to go with the flow. It's very subtle. It's more intuitive. It's you're just willing to kind of see where things take you there. Tuesday and Wednesday, Venus is going to shift into your 8th house. So there already has been a lot of 8th house emphasis with Mars here since last week. So if you've been feeling more motivated to get down to the bottom of things, or maybe to cultivate the things that really matter to you most in life, or maybe get involved with shared resources, or relying on others a bit. This is all very positive, a great source of motivation and drive for you. Most fundamentally, though, it is about cultivating what matters most and understanding more about yourself spiritually and psychologically. In fact, with Venus here, you can very much enjoy this deeper dimension of life with that shift into Pisces. So you'll likely notice the shifts maybe having more to do with healing some wounds or some fears or whatnot about the career or the productive life. Maybe it's about your perspective on things, how you think about things. You're probably seeing things in a deeper way. And so as you strip away these fears, you're going to notice they are transforming your career. They are transforming the way you think about things and the way you communicate things. But it's because you're willing to do that, to dive deep and to accept any fears or face some fears as a result of that. And that's really what the 8th house does, is it transforms us. It strips away all of that garbage, really, that prevents us from connecting to our true self and to life on a deeper level, and even into relationships. You could find with Venus in the 8th, this greater, pull towards cultivating more openness and vulnerability there as well. So that's the shift with Venus, and with her going over Chiron, there might be some wounds about this because you've recently, since last year, started to do some healing here with the deeper side to yourself and psychology and spirituality and all that. But if you do feel any wounds about the productive stuff, the career, maybe about communication or your mind on things, know that it's all very internal. It doesn't reflect the actual environment. It's just that you're doing the healing with that. And again, that can feel very refreshed and rejuvenated. In fact, by Thursday, I think you probably are feeling quite refreshed about the productive and career stuff, and maybe even too about how you think about things and communicate in general. Now, Venus will be squaring up to that Saturn, so those key areas there, you know, career and communication and all that, there's a bit of blockage, or feeling like there's blockage Thursday and Friday. There really isn't. It's just that it can feel like the short-term values or the immediate thing is just taking time, or you know, we're just having to be patient with matters. So take it nice and slow. Take a step back this week, maybe if you're feeling guided to with the career, productive life, or maybe with communication or everyday stuff there. Maybe even too about the deeper side to things, you know, if that's the case. So whatever it is, it's a, you know, seeing the bigger picture. It's just a yearly cycle that started back in late October. And so late October, if you can think back, if you did start something new involving your career, or at that time you were like, you know, really establishing some new perspectives about it, or maybe about your home and family, or your location, which is Saturn in your fourth, and then maybe even too about your whole perspective on like connecting to community or communication or learning something that you started to learn back then. Whatever it is, there's a sort of challenge here with this. It's the first challenge of that cycle, and it's about you challenging yourself with the patience, with the responsibility, with those key areas. And then what you're going to find is in about 3 months, you're going to be at the full moon phase of this. And that's going to be essentially a high point of a lot of the stuff you cultivate regarding these things between now and then. All right, so challenging yourself, being patient, maybe taking a step back with a career, productive, insight, communication, home, family, health, and the deeper side to life. All right, so then, yes, the new moon on Friday, new beginnings there with the crafts and the work and the day-to-day routine. Mercury comes out of his shadow Saturday and Sunday in your 5th house. So you're going to likely notice that with the self-expression, it's probably quite easier for you to express yourself, because there's been a lot you've learned about this this past month. But now Mercury out of his shadow can really help these things flow. Now, mind you, around Sunday with Mercury over Pluto, there's this transformation. It's almost like the last thing taking place here, and in this short-term period, having to do with this self-expression. And this is that you're stripping away all of those fears, all those inhibitions and stuff that have been preventing you from really enjoying yourself, expressing yourself, cultivating the fun and playful side of yourself, all of the stuff that Pluto's been helping you really do, but you've been having to face fears to do that. So there's a transformation this weekend. It's transforming the way you express yourself and connect to the things you enjoy in life. And you may even find too, if there's any fears or things having to do with the values, or the finances or investments, or things having to do with your aspirations, you know, personal things in the future. As you do that acceptance, as you just, because it's going to happen naturally. So as you bring awareness to all these layers of yourself that are just falling off, you're going to find what's left is a greater self-expression, is a greater connection to your values and those aspirations of yours. All right, so Leo, the way I would sum up this week is essentially that, yeah, at the beginning, there's the shift more into the deeper dimensions, which can be enjoyable, mind you, with Venus. But there's some healing taking place there, maybe with the career, maybe with the communication. There's a bit of patience needed with all this with Saturn. Again, this has been about you really establishing your roots right now, your home, family, and your health, taking all of that very seriously. Not too seriously, but, taking the responsible approach there. And then a new moon, a new beginning with your work, with your routine, developing crafts and all of that. New insights, that'll be more apparent going into next week. And then Mercury coming out of his shadow, going over Pluto, this whole transformation with that self-expression. All right, so Leos, have a fantastic week. Thank you again for all of your likes, comments, and shares of this weekly video. I do want to say that this is the last week for the 20% off New Year special. So if you haven't yet gotten a reading for the new year, do check that out. There's a link down in the comment section and the description. All right, Leo, so have a great one. Hope this was helpful, and I'll see you next week. Virgo, welcome to your portion of the weekly forecast. So let's go ahead and see what the most important things are this week. Mercury's forming a few aspects, a couple aspects. Starting here on Monday, Mercury will be sextiling Neptune. So on a minor note, maybe around Monday, you are feeling a bit like imaginative, intuitive, willing to go with the flow. And this has been a Mercury in your fourth house. So it's been this emphasis of connecting to your home, family, or your health. At this time really has been the past month plus. You probably learned quite a bit about these things in life. And yeah, it's a great week to continue to cultivate that as well. Maybe even learn quite a bit about your career, your productive life, since Mercury does rule your 10th. But the point here is that at the end of the week, you know, your ruler is going to come out of his shadow. And so that's really a okay go time. I mean, it's still going to be in the early phases of what will be a new moon around the weekend. So give it some time, probably going into next week, but there is a shift. And with all the planets direct, it's also facilitating that. And it is more about personal life though. You know, it's, even though you got Jupiter in your first house, there's a lot of things you're learning about your independence and your goals and all that. Mercury down here at the bottom. No, you know, it's about connecting to your personal life and home and family and your health and all this. And that's the source of motivation. That's the source of drive and all this. So, yeah, things continue to move forward early in the week, maybe a bit of flow and easygoingness with that. Now, Tuesday and Wednesday, Venus does go into Pisces, your 7th house, to join up with Mars. So more energy here going into relationships. And Mars has already been here, so you've likely been quite direct, maybe quite independent, involving relationships, which, done in a healthy way, can really facilitate greater relationships. But Venus coming in here really lightens it up. I think you can be enjoying those one-to-one connections or cooperating with others or working with others. And what you'll likely find too is that you're learning more about what you value in relationships. Venus rules your 2nd. Maybe there's more enjoyment there about connecting the sensual life and simple life with relationships. Maybe even too, a bit adventurous or philosophical involving them. Or you're seeing the possibilities and potentials with relationships, in fact. And really for the next month plus, there should be some opportunities here to connect. So there's definitely that shift. That'll be Tuesday, Wednesday time. And, a little after that, actually right around the same time, around Tuesday, Wednesday, Venus does go over Chiron. All right. So there is some healing taking place. It's nothing new. Chiron's already been in your 7th house, since last year. So there is some healing you are doing. But I think the more open you are to healing, with relationships, with your values. Again, maybe it's about the resources, the finances on that level. On another level, maybe it's about your belief systems and what's possible. But whatever it is, as you do that acceptance of those healing, of those wounds, you're going to find you're feeling refreshed. In fact, as you get into Thursday, maybe a little later, but you're going to start to notice this fresh new perspective about relationships, about feeling healed there. And then feeling healed about your values, that yes, you can enjoy and cultivate the things you value in life and your finances and resources and all that. And also too, about the adventurous side of yourself and your belief systems. And yes, you can cultivate that life path of yours. Now with that Venus is going to be squaring up to Saturn Thursday through Friday. So there might be a bit of, clash or a bit of limitation feeling with those areas I mentioned. And so this has been a Saturn in your 3rd house, really helping you get established with communication. So the more you are willing to take the slow and steady approach to communication, to learning, to everyday immediate stuff, which is Saturn in the 3rd, you're going to find that facilitates all of this. And seeing the big picture, commitment, responsibility with relationships can be very helpful. Seeing the big picture with the resources and the finances and the investments can be helpful. Understanding that, since late October, that was a time of new beginnings for these areas. You may have noticed that there was a new beginning about you setting off in terms of enjoying a bit of communication or learning more about that and cultivating your mind or, learning or whatever it is there. And even too, learning about your values at that time or a new beginning with your finances or investments. And so whatever that is, now it's this first challenge of this yearly sort of cycle with what was Venus and Saturn. And so remembering that can be helpful, but yes, it's about the big picture. It's about patience and maybe taking a step back sometimes is needed. Now on Friday, we do have a new moon in your 5th house. This is the house of fun, playfulness, romance, children, creativity, hobbies, and interests. So what you'll likely notice this weekend is maybe like expressing yourself, maybe like having fun, maybe like connecting to those things that are close to your heart. And so you'll likely notice that more facilitated next week as we go through the new moon. But yeah, listen to that. And especially with Mercury coming out of his shadow over the weekend, there is just greater clarity or understanding, or there's just more flow in your life in general. And even with Mercury over Pluto, you know, you're going through this whole metamorphosis this weekend, going into next on Sunday. This transformation of stripping away all of the fears, all of the inhibitions, the things that maybe you've been attached to, maybe involving home, family, and health, that can free you up. That you can release, and it'll free you up. So a new beginning with that, and that can be very transformational for you, being your ruler. So Virgo, the way I would sum up this week is essentially what we've got is at the beginning there is this shift into the whole relationship dynamic, as there has been, but it's more about now connecting there, enjoying there, the values with those, the open-mindedness with those, and the healing that comes from all this. You know, doing that healing can facilitate those areas. Now there might be a bit of patience needed with Venus squaring Saturn. It's taking a step back, so to speak. Can be very helpful and facilitate all of that, remembering the big picture since late October. And a new moon in your 5th, new beginning going into next week, about your self-expression, cultivating that. See what new props up this weekend. And yeah, your ruler coming out of his shadow, going over Pluto, this metamorphosis of stripping away the fears and the attachments and the ego, really, that are preventing you from connecting to your personal life, to the things that are important to you sentimentally and emotionally, which is that 4th house. All right, Virgo, so have a fantastic week. Thank you again for all of your likes, comments, and shares. I do want to mention that this is the last week that I am running the New Year special, 20% off personal readings. So if you haven't yet gotten a reading for the new year, be sure to check that out. But yeah, Virgo, hope this was helpful. Have a great week. I'll see you next week. All right, Libra, let's go ahead and have a look at the most important aspects you've got this week. Venus, your ruler, is quite active this week. She's going to be shifting into your 6th house of routine, of health, of diet, regimens, and fundamentally your work. You know, anything you do on a daily level. So there's definitely a shift there. You've already probably been quite motivated, in fact, towards these things with Mars. Maybe more direct there with the routine and whatnot. But now your ruler there really puts an emphasis on it. And enjoying it, maybe perhaps. But cultivating your skills, your crafts, your routine, your self-improvement, personal growth, all of that stuff can be very beneficial. Now, Tuesday and Wednesday, Venus does go over Chiron. So you might be going through some healing, some rejuvenation as a result with any wounds that might come up Tuesday and Wednesday. If you are feeling like a bit wounded, maybe about yourself, your independence, your self-image, maybe about the things that matter to you most in life. Maybe it's deep. You know, Venus rules your 8th too. But whatever it is, as you do that healing, you're going to find it refreshes you, it rejuvenates you, and it helps invigorate your work and routine and whatever it is on that daily level. Now, Venus will be squaring up to Saturn Thursday through Friday, so you may feel a bit blocked or restricted. It's possible. So just kind of taking a step back if need be, and remembering the big picture, because back in late October, you had a new beginning with new structures in your life, new things you were building or wanting to build. And it may have, a lot of it may have had to do with your values. You know, the new moon was back in your second house, may have had to do with finances or the resources or investments or something like that. Or maybe just your sense of self-worth. And you've been cultivating that self-worth and values since then. And so now it's a challenge, you know, it's time to challenge yourself. It's the square of it. It happens every 3 months with these solar cycles. And yeah, taking a step back, taking it nice and slow, remembering the big picture. The more responsible you are, more pragmatic you are and disciplined, you're going to find it very much helps structure these things that you're about, your goals, your self-image, your routine and work and all of that stuff. Now, the new moon is going to be in your 4th house, so there are new seeds being planted with your roots. All right, and you're probably going to notice this more so next week as it starts to gain momentum. But listen around Friday. Maybe there's some new things coming in about home, maybe about family, maybe about your past, your sentiments, your personal life, and connecting to your body, such as through your health. So as you connect there to the emotional side, you're going to find there is insight. It's a very intuitive time. And new things could very well surface regarding these foundations of yours. All right, so that's the Friday new moon. Then Saturday and Sunday, Mercury comes out of his shadow in your 3rd. So a lot of the things involving your communication or learning will likely ease up a bit or just feel like they're moving forward a bit easier. And there's a metamorphosis happening with your mind, in fact. Mercury is going to go over Pluto in your 3rd, help strip away all those fears and attachments and inhibitions and things that are preventing you from communicating and learning and opening your mind to possibilities and potentials. And you may also notice too over the weekend that it is resulting in that. You are more open-minded. You are you're willing to go with the flow and all that. I mean, you're probably going to notice that more so Monday, but there are transformations on Sunday. So you're going to feel like there's a past and a future with this. There's past perspectives being released and new ones being formed. Past ideas, new ideas, past things, fears and stuff, and then a fresh new start of seeing a whole new perspective of life. So anyways, very powerful there with the mind and your perspective of things, especially because Mercury rules that 9th house of yours. All right, so yeah, that's Mercury, and that's the week in a nutshell. Libra, the way I would sum this up is essentially you've got Venus, your ruler, shifting sign right at the beginning of the week, going into your 6th house of routine and work. I think you can be enjoying that, connecting there, cultivating those areas. Do the healing, all right? Do the healing there. Whatever wounds those are, whatever it is, can rejuvenate, refresh you. I think it's going to happen automatically. But certainly can facilitate that. Venus squaring Saturn does suggest a bit of patience with these matters, maybe about the values or the investments or whatever that 2nd house things were. That started since late October, and just all in all with you, of the structures you're building and taking things nice and slow. Then you do have the new moon in your 4th house, suggesting some new foundations being built in your life, home, family, health. You'll notice that more so next week, but a whole transformation of your mind and your perspective on things with Mercury over Pluto. All right, so Libras, have a fantastic week. I want to let you all know that this is the last week that I am running the 20% off New Year special. So if you haven't yet gotten a reading for the new year, be sure to check that out. The link will be down in the description and comment section. But yeah, I hope this was helpful, Libra. Thank you again for all of your likes, comments, and shares of these weekly videos. And I will see you all next week. Take care. Scorpio and Ophiuchus, let's go and have a look at this week's forecast for you. So let's look at your ruler Mars. You know, he's been in your fifth house of self-expression. So since last week, it's been an excellent time for you to cultivate this. In fact, Venus is coming in here. So I think you can be enjoying this self-expression. So the fifth house, it's our self-expression. It's anything that we enjoy in life, anything that's close to our hearts, anything we're passionate about, and also anything we create. So with both of these planets, you know, especially your ruler though, for this next couple months, really, it's a great time to be cultivating those things. It might be romance for some of you, might be creative, might be spending time with your children, if you have children in your life. It could be entrepreneurship, small business, again, anything that's a creation of yours. So whatever the specific thing is, really good energy, motivation there, and a willingness to connect on that level and enjoy these things. In fact, with Venus ruling your seventh, you could find that your relationships are a bit more expressive or playful or lighthearted. For some of you, it could be romantic specifically. Venus does rule that seventh house of yours. It's also more peaceful. Like, I think you're willing to express yourself in a more receptive way and more compassionate way, in fact, too, with Venus ruling your 12th. Or maybe you're enjoying hobbies and interests that are more about meditation or tranquil things that relax you and help you find peace, or just bringing that peace into this area. So those are all the key areas associated with the fifth, but Venus is going to go over Chiron. So what you're going to notice probably around Tuesday and Wednesday is that there is this healing taking place with all of this. Maybe it's healing with those relationships. Maybe it's healing with your self-expression. But whatever it is, as you do that acceptance there, it is going to facilitate the healing. I think it's going to happen anyways. And I think by Wednesday, Thursday, you're probably going to start to feel quite refreshed and rejuvenated regarding these things, probably relationships. And again, those passions of yours or interests of yours. Okay, then Thursday and Friday, though, Venus does square Saturn. So there is this greater picture here, right? It's a week of the long-term enjoyments and the long-term values, and bringing in a bit of commitment and responsibility with the self-expression that, yes, there are things we enjoy in life. There's passions, there's interest, but they take time, right? There's a way to approach them responsibly and with that commitment there. So with that perspective, I think you're getting on the right side of it. And then you're emphasizing the Saturn, who is in your first house, which has been helping you over the past couple of years get responsible, get disciplined and patient in all of this. And so as you get on that side of Saturn, and the more willing you are to see the big picture with those things, I think you're going to find that, yes, it is helping you build and constructively work on and develop these things that are close to your heart and those relationships as well. Now, this is all in regards to since late October, which is when you had the conjunction with Venus. So if in late October that wasn't you beginning for you with relationships, or maybe with yourself and again these responsibilities on some level, it's good to be aware of that this is part of a bigger picture. And right now it's just a good week to challenge yourself to take things slow, maybe take a step back involving those matters since late October. All right, and then on Friday, we do have a new moon. It's going to be in your third house of learning and of communication and sharing with others and peers and siblings. So whatever that is, it's a fresh new start. You'll probably notice that more so next week. But if this weekend, you do feel like maybe picking up a book or doing some writing or some communication or something like that, I think it's great to facilitate that, be flexible with it, because it is certainly starting a whole new perspective of your mind, the way you interact with your environment, interact with others through communication and things like this. And and so it could quite literally be some new things with that. Now, Saturday and Sunday, Mercury comes out of his shadow and goes over Pluto. So this is all in regards to your values. I think it's been so important over the past many years for you to be approaching, your values, your finances, your investments and all this with a willingness to detach, to detach the ego and maybe live a minimalistic sort of life or whatever. Not that you can't have good finances or good, prosperity or values, but the more willing you are to detach, willing to live minimalistically, so to speak. It facilitates that. So anyways, you've learned a lot about your values. You've learned a lot about your, savings, investments, finances, whatever it's been for you. With Mercury retrograde here, maybe you've rehashed a lot, but now with Mercury coming out of his shadow, it really starts to move forward. And Mercury over Pluto, what's going to happen is your whole perspective of your values and all that is changing, is transforming. In fact, your aspirations and future things are transforming too, with Mercury ruling your 11th. So Sunday going into next week, I think it's going to happen naturally, but you're going to feel like there's this stripping away of all the fears and attachments and all that, probably with values, probably with your aspirations, and that's going to leave behind a core of you, right? A freer you of once those layers have fallen away. What's left is a greater connection to our beingness and freedom and who we truly are, you could say. So transformational weekend for all of us, not major, but certainly important. And I think for you, it's with that second house. So Scorpio and Ophiuchus, the way I would sum up this week is essentially what we've got is right at the beginning, there is this shift towards the self-expression. I mean, it's already been there, but with Venus coming into the self-expression, you could be enjoying it. Hobbies, interests, creative, playful, fun stuff can be great. Your relationships, getting into a bit more of the lighter side of things or expressive side of things, which is great. But there's healing with this, Venus going over Chiron. Rejuvenation as a result, though, going into Thursday. Probably feeling refreshed about the self-expression, but then realizing that there's a bigger picture here, right? Sometimes we got to take that step back. And this is nothing new for you all because you had Mars square up to Saturn last week, and last week was much more challenging because that was your ruler. Here it's just with Venus, and I think to a degree you are willing to take a step back. You are willing to see the big picture and the responsible approach or whatever that is. And as a result, yes, it's helping you build and constructively implement this self-expression. New beginnings with your mind, communication and learning can be very nice going into next week. And this whole shift of perspective about what you value in life, how you can strip away the attachments, the fears, the yearnings that might be preventing you from connecting to what you truly value in life, and to be grateful for what you have in your life and connect to it. All right, so Scorpio and Ophiuchus, have a fantastic week. I hope this was helpful. If you all have any questions, feel free to comment down below. And thank you for all of your likes, comments, and shares. And I do want to mention, too, that this is the last week that I am running the 20% off New Year special for readings. So if you haven't yet gotten a reading for the new year, be sure to check that out. I'll put a link down in the comment section and description. All right, Scorpio and Ophiuchus, have a great one. Thank you again, and I'll see you all next week. Sagittarius, let's go and have a look at the weekly forecast for you. So, yeah, let's look at the beginning of the week. We've got Venus going into your 4th house of your home, family, health, and your roots, your emotional body. In fact, you've had Mars down here, so there's likely been more motivation and drive towards these things. Or at least it's good, to be putting in that drive towards your sentiments, those things that are important to you in your personal life, right? Now, Venus here can really be helping you enjoy that. And so you could be enjoying perhaps home life, family life, maybe, connecting to your health and your body and all that more receptive stuff. And what you'll likely notice too is that your routine is getting perhaps a bit more nurturing or caring or emotional. Your aspirations, you're probably seeing the possibilities of future things with these roots, and seeing how, yeah, you can cultivate these things for the long term. Now, Venus is going to go over Chiron, and so you might be feeling some wounds, maybe about the home family stuff. It's nothing new. Chiron's already been here. Maybe about your routine and work, though, on a more specific note this week, maybe about those aspirations. So whatever wounds do come up, as you do that acceptance, you're going to find that it does rejuvenate you, it does refresh you, and I think going into Thursday, you'll likely feel quite refreshed that yes, you can enjoy these personal values of yours, can enjoy the routine and the aspirations, but in a sort of slow and steady way, because Venus is going to be squaring up to Saturn going into Thursday, Friday, which does suggest that there's a much bigger picture here, right? And if you think back to late October, about 3 months ago, you had a new beginning, and that may have been a new beginning about something new about your work or your routine, maybe about those aspirations. So it's a good time to challenge yourself this week in a sense of being patient, seeing the long-term picture, remembering too that Saturn is helping you take a step back in that 12th house of getting perhaps more alone time or tranquil time or easygoingness in your life. And that can be very healthy, very good for you. You know, Saturn is helping you connect to your beingness and to find peace. So with that perspective of the bigger picture of spirituality, of finding peace and true happiness through acceptance, you're going to find that it's facilitating all this. It's helping you connect to your personal life. It's helping you connect to your work or routine. It's helping you connect to your aspirations and your friends and your groups and all that. And yeah, and that's a great way of working with it. So that's Thursday through Friday. Then we do have a new moon on Friday in that second house of your values. So there are some new things shaping up with your perhaps finances for some of you, investments, savings, but most fundamentally, all of you, your sense of self-worth, right? Feeling like, yes, you can cultivate your values, that you do have natural gifts and natural abilities, and those are the same ones that will help you facilitate cultivating those values of yours, and maybe just feeling more confident, more like, you know, like you got a greater sense of self-worth. So you'll feel that probably more so next week, but there are some new seeds being planted around Friday, so I would listen to that, be flexible, see where things take you. And over the next month and really 6 months, it is the time of cultivating those values of yours. Now, Saturday and Sunday, Mercury does go out of his shadow in your first house, so you've learned a lot about yourself, haven't you, this past month and a half or whatever it's been with Mercury through here, retrograde and all that. So now he's going to go over Pluto this weekend. So there's this metamorphosis where you're transforming again. Maybe it's with yourself, but it could have to do with relationships. In fact, I think Sunday, there are some old things about your perspective on relationships, or quite literal things about relationships being left behind. They're falling away. Maybe about your career and your productive life as well. So a new beginning with those things, and it is requiring that transformation, which is nothing new for you. You've had Pluto in your first house for a very long time, and it's just another metamorphosis. It's not major, but yes, there's a new you shaping up. It's a lot about what you've learned about yourself, and stripping away the fears and attachments and even ego and identity and all this that are really preventing you from connecting to what you might consider your real self, or the core of who you are, of that beingness, right? So a very powerful weekend there, and as a result, going into next week, along with these new beginnings with your values and your resources and all of that, also this new transformed you and perspective of you, really, and relationships and career as well. So Sagittarius, the way I would sum up this week is, yes, there's more energy going into the bottom of your chart in the 4th house. Venus here, you can be enjoying home, family, health. Maybe some healing is taking place with that. With Chiron, there's a square up to Saturn, so it's about patience with those matters. Also about patience with the work, your aspirations, maybe group things or friends or community things. But it's all coming back to the fact that Saturn's been in your 12th, helping you take seriously your beingness, to find peace, letting go, surrendering, maybe understanding more about yourself spiritually or psychologically. And yeah, the weekend does have the new moon in the 2nd, so a new beginning with your values and this whole transformation of self-image, self-identity, and what you've been learning about yourself these past many weeks. All right, Sagittarius, have a great one. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to comment down below. I do want to mention that this is the last week that I am running the 20% off New Year special. So if you haven't yet gotten a reading for the new year, do check that out. I have a link down in the comment section and the description. And yeah, have a great one. Thanks for liking, sharing, and commenting these videos. And I'll see you all next week. All right, Capricorn, let's have a look at what we've got this week. So let's talk about Venus. Venus being a major player this week, as Mars was last week, and it's all very much associated with the same sort of areas, kind of, in the sense that it's been about your third house of communication. You've likely noticed last week that maybe you've been more direct with your communication. Maybe you've been more intent on learning, reading, writing, communication, sharing, business for some of you, trading, community, whatever that might be. So with more of the synergy and the learning and all of that, now you can be enjoying this. Venus coming in here Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe enjoying picking up the book, maybe enjoying doing some writing, some business, some sharing of ideas, whatever it is. And all in all, you're probably going to feel like you are expressing yourself more. Venus in the third. Venus rules your fifth of self-expression. Maybe verbally you're expressing yourself or through writing, something like that. And it can be enjoyable. You know, again, Venus is about enjoyment, but Venus ruling the fifth, coming into the third. It's a lot of awareness, a lot of passion perhaps about more of this, you know, synergistic stuff of life. Now, Venus also rules your 10th, so you could find that maybe you're thinking more too about your career, productive life, or your career is involving more communication and learning and all that good stuff too. Now, there is some healing taking place this week, so it's good to be nice and patient with all of this. Venus going over Chiron. You have been healing your perspective on matters and communication and all this. If you feel any wounds about that, it's very natural. Do that acceptance. If you feel any wounds about your self-expression or about your career, that's very natural too. And as a result, probably Thursday, you'll feel quite rejuvenated and quite healed in regards to that. Now, mind you too, Venus is going to be squaring up to Saturn. So this will be Thursday, Friday. So be patient with all this communication stuff. And remember too, Saturn's been helping you build your aspirations. It's been a time, really, this past couple of years of really building your future aspirations. Maybe getting involved in community or group things. You know, whatever that is, whatever that's been for you personally. So taking a step back sometimes, as it's important, with squares up to Saturn. But Saturn being your ruler, I mean, probably more than likely, maybe you're just feeling a bit of clash with your values, with the self-expression, maybe with the career. So yeah, take a step back with that. I think you might find that helpful. Remembering too, this is all part of a new beginning since late October. Having to do with those aspirations. You set off onto a new path with a lot of that stuff back then. And yeah, and so now it's the first challenge with this, being patient with it, taking it nice and slow as Venus gets out of this uncomfortable placement with your ruler. All right, so that's Venus, and let's not forget the new moon is going to be in your sign. This is going to be on Friday, and happy birthday for those of you watching for your sun signs who do have your birthdays this week. But a new beginning for all of you, sun, moon, and ascendant, shaping up. It's subtle, usually during the new moon. You're still coming out of and still somewhat in a receptive time with Mercury in the 12th, but give it some time. Going into next week, you're going to find that there are some new things shaping up about you, about your goals, your independence. And maybe around Friday, some new ideas, some new seeds are being planted about all this. So listening and cultivating it, being flexible, seeing where things take you. You know, it's a new solar cycle for you of 12 months, of this month, but of, you know, in a bigger sense, 12 months. Great time to set new intentions as well. Now, speaking of that Mercury is coming out of his shadow Saturday and Sunday, and so there is this shift about probably what you've learned quite a bit about yourself spiritually or psychologically this past couple months, really, with Mercury here. And Mercury going over Pluto is this final transformation, this final rejuvenation and stripping away of all of those fears, all those deeper things. And probably feeling quite refreshed in that sense too, going into next week, about where you can have more peace, more acceptance in your life, more alone time, more inner peace through being. And Mercury does rule your 6th, so over Sunday too, you might notice there's some old things about your routine or your work that are being left behind, which can be good, and also about your perspective on things. Mercury ruling that 9th, seeing the big picture. All right, but Capricorn, the way I would sum this up is the first half of the week does have all this shift into your 3rd house of now enjoying and connecting to learning and reading and writing and exchanging or business or whatever that is. And expressing yourself verbally or through writing, something like that can be very good. In your career too, communication more through the career, productive life. Now there's some healing with all that, so mind you, the more you do that, you'll probably feel quite refreshed on Thursday. And Thursday through Friday, a bit of clash though, needing to be a bit patient maybe, or just see the big picture, maybe challenge yourself with some of this stuff. All right, and remembering it's all part of a bigger picture about those aspirations of yours, future things. The new moon on Friday in your first house, fantastic. New beginnings about you, where you're headed for the next year. New insights about you and independence shaping up. And then Saturday and Sunday, there's more of this spiritual, transformation occurring. And it's going to be Mercury finishing up in that 12th house, going over Pluto, stripping away all those fears so you can have more peace, more tranquility, more easygoingness in your life. All right, so Capricorn, have a fantastic week. Thank you again for all of your likes, comments, and shares of this weekly video. And I do want to mention this is the last week for the 20% off New Year special. So if you haven't yet gotten a reading for the new year, check that out. I'll have a link down in the comment section and the description. And yeah, have a great one, Capricorn. Hope this was helpful, and I'll see you all next week. Aquarius, all right, let's go and have a look here at what you've got this week. So let's talk about this early part of the week. Tuesday, Wednesday, you got Venus going into your second house to join up with Mars. I think you have been probably quite direct in terms of cultivating your values in life, or about finances and, really establishing your values, whatever it is, material or otherwise. But now Venus comes in here, which usually lightens up the house. So you'll probably see that, yes, you can certainly connect to and enjoy the simple pleasures of life, the enjoyments of life. Maybe you're seeing more values about home, family, and your health, or home and family, your personal life. Seeing the values there, maybe connecting more emotionally to your values, the material life, and seeing the possibilities too. Venus does rule your ninth. She comes into the second. It can help you attract and connect to the things you value, whether it's finances, resources, investments, and whatnot. Now, she's going to be there for a while, but this week she is going to go over Chiron, so you might feel some wounds maybe about these matters here Tuesday and Wednesday. But as a result, probably Wednesday, Thursday, you'll probably feel quite rejuvenated about it, especially as you do the healing of those values. Maybe you might feel some wounds about your health. It'd be a good time to do some healing if there's anything involving your health. Tuesday and Wednesday, a new chapter with that, in fact, could be very positive. And your emotions as well, and your past and your sentiments. And again, healing your perspective on things. Accepting if you do have any wounds about what's possible and potential. Then as we go into Thursday and Friday, Venus does square up to Saturn, your ruler. So there's a bit of clash, kind of like last week, but I don't think it's going to be as heavy as last week, which was Mars. But anyways, this is about maybe taking a step back with these matters, home, family, health. It might be needed, or remembering there's a bigger picture, because back in late October, you may have started something new involving home, family, or health. And so thinking back to that, now it's the first challenge with that this week, where you can be patient, right? See the big picture, kind of cultivate what you already knew. It was going to take time, right? Back in late October. And even too with your career and work, because you got Saturn still in your 10th. So your productive life has got a lot of this like kind of serious connotation to it and just building it. But that's really what this whole theme is about. It's been about you cultivating your productive life and taking seriously the future and all that stuff. So it's a little bit of both, but just kind of being patient with the values, with the resources, with the health, the home, family stuff, with what's possible in life. And remembering that it's a good time to take healthy responsibility towards cultivating your future and productive life. And that could be a good way of challenging yourself to develop those key areas. Now, Friday does have a new moon in your 12th, so it is a time for you to learn more about yourself spiritually and maybe get some rest and relaxation, take some spiritual time out. That's been the sun recently shifting into your 12th. We'll be there all week, but over the weekend, there might be some new insights about this, about, maybe some fears and things coming up that you can accept, but just really connecting to your beingness and really asking yourself where you can find peace, because that's why all this stuff comes up. It comes up because we're going deeper. And when we go deeper, there's all these things we've brushed under the rug that are there that we have to accept and work with or deal with or whatever. It could be traumas. It could be psychological. It could be past things. The 12th house is a very deep house, but the result is true happiness. And once you've done the acceptance work, once you've brought that conscious light to the dark, to the deeper self, and that's what this new cycle is about. It's going to help you find more peace, more tranquility. It happens once a year. It's the time of rest and cultivating these things that will help you have more peace and more detachment, more surrender. And as that rejuvenates you, you're going to find that in about a month, it's going to be your sun in the first, and that's going to be more of an invigorating time of your independence and all that. But we have to do that rest and that, find that spiritual peace once a year, and it's the time of that. Okay. Mercury is going over Pluto over the weekend, coming out of his shadow in your 11th. So yeah, things involving friends and community things, or maybe about your aspirations, has made a lot of sense, and it certainly will by this weekend if it hasn't already. You've been learning a lot about this area the past couple months, and now with Mercury over Pluto, there's this transformation taking place with your whole perspective on friendships and community things or your aspirations in life, stripping away all the fears that are preventing you from connecting there. And there might even be some things coming up Sunday having to do with your self-expression, fears, inhibitions that you can accept. And as a result, what you're going to find going into next week, also with this new beginning, is that yes, there is this greater connection to your aspirations, to your friends, to your self-expression, whatever it is there. And that's going to be setting a new stage for you in terms of taking all of what you've learned these past couple months and cultivating it, working with it, moving it forward. All right, so Aquarius, the way I would sum up this this week is essentially you've got all this shift at the beginning of the week going into the second house, as there was last week. But here with Venus, maybe enjoying and attracting and seeing the possibilities with your values. Finances, resources, investments, things like that. There might be some healing taking place there, maybe about those matters, maybe about your home, family, and health. It's possible. So as you bring awareness to that, it'll help facilitate the healing. But I think by Thursday, certainly feeling quite refreshed about it. And then square up to Saturn is just saying be patient with all this stuff. It's part of a bigger picture here with the values, with the roots, home, family, health, etc. And then there's a new moon in the 12th, which is about finding peace, where you can find more peace and listen to that intuition around that time. Saturday, Sunday, a new shift of your aspirations, of possibilities, potentials about the future. But it's about facing those fears. Sunday, I think it'll come naturally. I think it'll come easy. And what will be left will be a greater insight about those things that you idealize, that you enjoy, your hopes and wishes, whatever else you've been learning these past couple months. All right, so Aquarius, have a fantastic week. I want to thank you all very much for all of your likes, comments, and shares of this video. I also want to mention, too, that this is the last week I'll be running the 20% off New Year special. So if you haven't yet gotten a reading for the new year, be sure to check out that link. There'll be one in the comment section and the description. But yeah, Aquarius, I hope this was helpful. And have a great week, and I'll see you all next week. Pisces, all right, let's have a look at what we've got for you this week. So let's talk about Tuesday, Wednesday, when Venus goes into your sign. There's this shift, more of a shift going into your sign. You've already probably been quite direct, quite independent lately with Mars in the first, which is great. Really, the next couple months is just good for motivation, drive, just being assertive and direct and taking action, things like that. But now with Venus coming out of the 12th, you may have been enjoying more of the receptive stuff. But now I think you're going to be enjoying a bit more of the active energy, whether it's through working out or cultivating your goals. Some of you might be feeling good, looking good, going to the salon or getting some new clothes or something like that. Give it some time, of course. But yeah, there's this new a connection, this new charisma about you, this new attraction that is being developed here with Venus in the first. And all in all, most fundamentally, though, it's about you enjoying and connecting to you, right? To who you are and learning more about that. Venus is about learning for you. She does rule your third house, so plenty to learn about yourself now for the next couple months with Venus here. Maybe about communicating yourself, expressing yourself and sharing ideas perhaps could be emphasized, and maybe just connecting on a deeper level as well. Venus rules your eighth, but I think it's easier when she comes into the first. You're more open, more vulnerable perhaps, and more willing to connect in that receptive way that you naturally are all about, which is Pisces. All right, so that's the shift. Now, mind you, this week, though, with that, Venus is going to go over Chiron, so there is some healing taking place Tuesday and Wednesday, involving yourself, your independence, maybe about communication. And so the more you are accepting of any wounds around, how you're thinking about things or communication or your independence, so it's very natural. And I think you will feel quite refreshed Wednesday and Thursday as a result. Give it time, of course, but there is a sort of refreshment about you and what you value in life and who you are in many ways too. Now, Venus is going to be squaring up to Saturn, so there is a bit of a clash here, collectively speaking. And the best way of working with this is a reminder that Saturn in your ninth has been helping you see the big picture in a way that, yes, there's aspirations, yes, there's possibilities, but they take time, right? That's been Saturn in your ninth. Some of you may have been working real hard with learning or spirituality or university studies or long distance or travel or something like that. So whatever started, particularly back in late October, if there's anything new that started about that area or about learning, right, or about wanting to connect to life on a deeper level in some way, whatever it is, it's the first challenge here of the cycle, of this yearly cycle. And so, yeah, taking it nice and slow, maybe taking a step back involving this stuff Thursday, Friday, and seeing the big picture can really facilitate all this. Now, on Friday, we do have the new moon, and this is going to be in your 11th house. So there are new beginnings involving your aspirations, involving possibilities and potentials, involving friends and community things if it's manifesting on that level for you. But whatever it is, listen around Friday and see what comes in. Probably some new insights or something, maybe quite literally some new things. But take it into next week. It takes time for this energy to work its way through with the lunar cycle. Set some intentions, see what shapes up, be flexible with it. But in the short term of the next month and the next year, it really is a new beginning with your aspirations, your personal ones, most fundamentally your hopes and wishes, future things there. All right. Now, Saturday, Sunday, Mercury does come out of his shadow in your 10th. So a lot of you have learned a lot about productivity or your career or your public image or whatever, your role in the community with Mercury retrograde and all that the past couple months. But now he's out of his shadow. So there's a lot of forward moving energy now. And I think a lot of it can be great to cultivate that productive life. There are some transformations taking place around Sunday with Mercury over Pluto. So you're likely stripping away a lot of fears or attachments or something like that that have been preventing you from connecting to your career. But as you let those go, it's going to free you up. It's, Phoenix rising out of the ashes here with a productive life. And also, too, with your home, family, and health over Sunday, if there's maybe some things you can accept about that or some transformations there, maybe about relationships as well. All right, that's also going to be rejuvenating you. And that's really been about the fact that it's been so important to maybe be connecting with relationships through your career work or working productively with others or commitment with others and long-term stuff. Some of you too, maybe future things involving home, family, or health, or bringing in a bit more of an emotional perspective to your career and productive life. Right, connecting on that level. So anyways, going into next week with this new moon, there's certainly a new beginning, both with Mercury and the new moon, shifting a new perspective with the career productive life, with those aspirations. And that you'll probably notice more so the results of it, more so next week. All right, so Pisces, the way I would sum up this week is I do want to mention too, at the beginning, Monday, your modern ruler, Neptune, is going to be sextiling up to that Mercury. So starting this week on Monday, maybe feeling a bit imaginative, open-minded, or you're feeling quite rational. Maybe there are some new things shaping up with the career. It's subtle, but maybe some opening there on Monday. But Tuesday and Wednesday, Venus comes into your first house. You might be feeling good, looking good, great for independence, enjoying that, or maybe just feeling more communicative, more expressive. Doing some healing with that can be very refreshing. A square up to Saturn does suggest that things do take time with the self, with the communication, with the independence. Be patient with that, with the life path. And that's really the key, is to take the slow and steady approach to the bigger picture, the life path. And that's been Saturn in that 9th. New moon in your 11th, new aspirations shaping up going into next week, or community things for some of you, and a fresh new perspective about career, relationships, your home, family, and health on Sunday. All right, so Pisces, have a great week. Thank you again for all of your likes, comments, and shares. I am still running the 20% off New Year special. This will be the last week of it. So if you haven't yet gotten a reading for the new year, do check the comment section and the description down below for that link. And yeah, have a great week, Pisces. See you next week.